Hi everyone, I'm Barbara Beck and I want to welcome you to our show today. Today we're going to be talking about different challenges that many families face who have special needs children. What does that look like for them? How do they cope? What about programs in place to help these families cope? Well, let me tell you about one. Every summer, the parents of a little boy, Nathaniel Cook, a child born with multiple special needs, they hold the nation's biggest birthday party for him, even though he's in heaven and has been for 15 years. You might have heard about the party. It's called Make 'em Smile, which is held every June at Lake Eola in Orlando. It's for families and children with special needs, children affectionately called VIPs. And every year, the party gets bigger and bigger. In fact, last year, there were 50,000 people in attendance, which included 2,500 VIP kids with their families. Everything's free for those families, and it's an incredible day of celebrating life, Nathaniel, and special needs families with their own VIP children. There's so many families out there with special needs. Let's talk to the current ladies today and hear what their thoughts and experiences are on this very challenging subject. Welcome, ladies.
Hi.
Glad to have you here with us today. Well, Carolyn, I have to defer to you, first of all, because you are the Make 'em Smile champion. You go every single year. You sing. What are your thoughts on Make 'em Smile?
Well, first of all, I love Marie and Tim. They are just the most wonderful, giving, caring people there is. I mean, you know,
Yes.
They just are. And I appreciate, I get the honor of every year getting to go up and sing, I Believe I Can Fly. And there is something about watching these kids who, you know, they challenge every day.
Yeah.
The families, it's not an easy way to live sometimes, but they walk up on that stage and to see them all geared up, and they just start singing, I believe I can fly. And just the pride, they're giving everything. Sometimes their veins are popping out. They're singing so hard. And then watching the families and the caretakers just sit and cry because they see their kids just blossoming and shining. And that's what that day is about, is taking these kids and letting them be the ones that shine, that they maybe feel normal for that one day, and it's just powerful.
I love the fact that Marie has a heart to make sure that we in the community who don't maybe have special needs children, but that we can relate to that by going to an event. A lot of people think, oh, Make 'em Smile, it's just for the special needs families, but it's for us. We're the ones that need to be there because I get the blessing every time I go. You've been before,
We've
Kristen.
been. My kids have been.
What do they think, and what do you guys?
Oh, it's just so neat. Last year when we were there, after you sang, I think a couple dance troupes came up, and so there were a couple or groups of children, sweet girls that would get up there and dance, and you would think they were on Broadway. Because that's what they thought. They thought they were dancing on Broadway, and it felt like that. It was so special and so sweet to just watch them shine and in all their glory and to give glory to God. And my children love it because A, it gets them out of themselves, focused on other people and how can we serve. So I love that we have the opportunity to go and volunteer and just celebrate with these families.
50,000 people, that is a lot of people.
Yes.
And it's growing every year.
Unbelievable. And then how long is the program?
It goes from 7:30 in the morning until about 1 o'clock. And it's tough to get there. I mean, it's downtown Orlando, and you can imagine that much traffic.
Right.
But they do a great job. We'll put the website up on the screen for our viewers today. But they'll give you places to park, and businesses open up their parking lot so that everybody has somewhere to park. Chick-fil-A comes with the free food and hot dogs and Chick-fil-A sandwiches. And
the cow's out there.
The cow is there to greet everybody. They have bounce houses. What's so neat?
Well, there's booths all around the entire lake, so you can
okay.
walk the entire lake, and it's just packed with balloons and children and families.
And
there's free
activities.
stuff,
And there's
right?
free stuff,
Yeah.
right? Different churches volunteer, different people volunteer, but it's just not a morning or a day where you just sit around and watch people. As you're walking, you're letting your children engage with the other children, or you're actually doing some of the activities. It might be coloring, it could be a ring toss, it could be the bounce houses. There's something to do for everybody.
That's awesome.
Well, when she calls it VIP, I mean, these kids feel like they are the most important people in the entire world. I mean, I cannot even tell you, just to look in the eyes of those children who, when they walk up to you, they're looking at you like, you are so lucky to meet me, because because
so
that's how she
great.
makes them feel. And it's just, and like you said, there's so many people now that are getting involved in like donating products to them. And so as these kids are walking around, people are just giving them things, and they're playing games. And I mean, they are so celebrated
That's
this
so
day. I think it's got to be like a shot of B12.
Yeah.
Sweet.
And there are all kinds of levels of special needs too. Some are, I mean, drastically handicapped in a lot of ways. They have to be in their wheelchairs. There are other kids that are VIP kids that would be walking around the lake and you would never know.
Right.
It could be my three adorables. It could be your children. You don't know what special needs are in some of these kids. And that's kind of what I want to talk to you all about today is autism, Asperger's, kids that have maybe OCD, compulsive behaviors, maybe ADHD. Have you all run into any of that with your children, maybe in school?
I actually have a young man at my church that has Asperger's. But, you know, I don't know if anybody else has experienced this, but normally when you say autism, you think of a child that is like not able to function. This kid is, when I say the most amazing child, for one, he calls me the queen.
He's smart.
Smart boy.
Anybody that calls me the queen is on my list. But I don't think he ever has a bad day. And he's probably what would be considered high functioning.
Yes.
But even in terms of his education, he gets, you know, excellent grades and all of that. But when he was younger, as he's grown older, I've seen him just blossom and develop. But I think part of it really is because of the people that are around him that never really probably focus on what his disability is.
Well, there's more awareness, too, of disabilities. I didn't grow up in school, and I taught school for many, many years. You all know that. For 13 years, I was in the school system. I never heard of Asperger's back when I was teaching. I knew kind of a little bit about what autism was, but I certainly didn't ever run into it, or if I did, I would not have had a clue as to how to handle it. And now in our culture, I think we're talking about it more.
Yeah.
Part of the reason why we're doing this program today, to raise awareness that there are disabilities out there, but they can be functioning and doing great, like you're talking about, Deborah.
Yeah.
In researching for this show, one of the points that I came across that was written by a parent of a special needs child was that, and I think it's a good reminder for all of us too, is that those of us that have children, we were chosen to be that child's parents. And not only were we chosen, but we were called by God. And she went on to write that that being a parent of whatever child that you have is a calling of the Lord. And she went on to give examples about how Moses was called and how Israel was called to be God's people. And that was such a good reminder for whatever situation we're in with our own children, that being a parent of that child is a calling, and that the Lord has had sovereignty on that to directly link us with that particular child. And I was so encouraged by that, because it was just a reminder that each one of us is so dearly loved by the Lord, regardless of the difficulties that we may be facing or that another family may be facing.
Right.
Well, you know, I was looking up some of that same stuff last night, and it's so encouraging. I love when we do this kind of stuff because it's so easy to feel alone. And I think that's what I love about what Marie and Tim are doing, is they're bringing people together that they can join hands and they can cry together, they can laugh together, they can share. And no, you're not alone. Everyone struggles. And 1 out of 83 children are affected with this. And I was looking at, like, even the statistics of, like, they said when it got, you know, they thought that it was going to get better because everybody thought it was the shots. And then they took out what they thought was making them in the shot, but it still kept going up. And they said that they think what some of it was is that they just didn't know how to diagnose it or give it that name. And so it looks like it's been going up. So they said they really don't know. I was watching this doctor who was speaking on it. But either way, I think that when we do these shows, to let everybody know that they're just not alone, because the struggle's real. We're all going through things with our children, you know, whether if it's the anxiety or the OCD. I mean, I know it's affected our home, you know, and we struggle with it. But, you know, we've just made the commitment, like everybody else, to stand on God's word and to really get a support group. I think that we have found that one of the biggest things that you need is a support group of people that you can talk to that makes you not feel like you've done something wrong or you're being punished by God. But this is just life. You know what I mean? But these are all real thoughts that you go through when you're in the middle of the struggle.
And how many of us have ever known a Down syndrome child? I mean to tell you, those children are the biggest blessings to their parents, and they are, I don't know that they're always happy, but they appear to be. They appear to be an enormous blessing. And oftentimes you hear that these parents say, it's a great, you know, you talk about the empty nest syndrome, and that's something that I live with and that all of us will live with one day. That person that has a Down syndrome child will never have an empty nest. Right. And that could be something sad for somebody or something to be celebrated. You always have somebody there depending on you, somebody to love and somebody to be a part of your family. I mean, and you know, we've talked in the past about pro-life versus pro-choice and people that would abort or end the life of a child because a child has Down syndrome. You ask a Down syndrome child how happy they are to be here in this world, they'll be the first to tell you what a blessing it is to live.
Can I share a scripture?
Yes.
And I really love this scripture. Psalms 127:3 says, "Lo, children are an heritage of the Lord, and the fruit of the womb is his reward." And so it's an honor, no matter what the situation or circumstance, to be able to carry a child and bring that child into this world. And I think people that have children that have special needs, they have to be special people. Because for God to trust them to be able to, you know, it's easy to say, all of my kids were born healthy and all of that, and that is a blessing. But can you imagine that family that, you know, has this baby that has special needs that they have to give so much time and attention to? You know, God has to really be able to trust you and think that you're going to be a good steward and that you're still going to love this child and give it what it needs to be happy and healthy.
Right. And it's not all sunshine and lollipops. You know, when you go to make them smile, you walk around, everybody's happy, I mean, it's a party.
Right.
These people then go home to their own
Right,
situation
right.
that is not always easy. In fact, I talked to a man not too long ago who has 2 special needs children, girls, who are in wheelchairs. They're about 6 years old. And I said, what do you think is going to be your biggest challenge with these girls? And he said, Barbara, you got to stop and think. One day, these girls are going to be in their 20s, and I'm going to be still changing their diapers. I mean, you talk, ladies,
Reality
you talk
check.
about a reality check. My heart broke in half because we think that they're always children. They're not always children. They grow up to continue to have needs and to continue to have parents who need to tend to
You know,
them.
in my studies for this show, I found that there is a form of autism that affects girls more than boys, which I thought was really interesting because you just don't think that, you know, it's like you're selective and who this is gonna hit. Well, there is a form that is girls are more susceptible to, and to think that at 21, because their bodies probably continue to develop into adulthood, it's just their mental or emotional state that kind of stays the same.
You know, and for me, if we could too, I would just, there's a scripture that's hitting me really hard right now. It's Joshua 1:9. It says, have I not commanded you to be strong and courageous? Do not be frightened and do not be damaged, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. And I just feel like there's some folks that are out there watching this today who are going through a child that maybe has a disability, that the world wants to say is a disability, but we see them as chosen by God. God doesn't make mistakes. And I think God just wants you to be encouraged today that if you're tired, and because it is tiring, it's exhausting, and there is no pain. We say this sometimes, Kristen, that I can hurt, but when I see my children hurt, there is nothing like that pain. And so I think we just need to encourage them that are watching today just to find their strength in the Lord. I know it doesn't matter whether your children are healthy. We're all going through some kind of challenge. Even parents who have healthy children, sometimes those kids are out doing things that you wish they weren't doing, that they're hurting themselves. And we're all in this thing together, that we are trusting the Lord, leaning not to our own understanding, but in all our ways, acknowledging the Lord. And I think that's what we want to be here today, is just that encouragement that if you're tired, it's okay.
And that there are programs in place. Carolyn, that was so beautifully said. I know one thing that Marie and Tim Cook have done is to put into place something called Buddy Break.
Yes.
And it's in 23 different states. Now, Marie is from Central Florida, and she's gone into the whole nation, and there are 23 states who now have a Buddy Break. Normally, it's out of churches, and parents can take their child to a trained person who's going to watch that child for 2 or 3 hours so that that mom or that dad can go out and do something just for them. And I know that we've taken Charlie, and you want to talk about some of his experiences with Buddy Break, because this is my grandson. And we got trained. Charlie and I got trained
through the
to know
training.
what to do
Yes.
in a buddy break. We haven't
Yes.
done that many because he has sports and things,
Right.
but
he needs to do it more. But it's just been a really neat experience for him because it allows him to go and completely serve and be selfless. But he also has fun.
he does have fun.
Yeah,
He's
fun
playing.
because he's a kid, and you know, kids just interact with kids as they would normally. They don't necessarily see disability or special needs,
don't.
but they
They
see
don't.
another friend. And I love that about kids because their hearts are so pure and they haven't gotten tarnished and tainted. But you know, through this preparation for this show, God has reminded me that. In His Word, He promises us and tells us that He's the comforter, He's the sustainer,
Right.
He brings us joy, He's the healer. And He may not heal this side of heaven, but He certainly will heal eventually.
That's right, yeah.
And so I just want, like you, Carolyn, just want to encourage everyone that we can find hope in Scripture.
Yeah.
When all else feels lost, God's Word does not return void, and His promises are new every day.
Well, and you know, it's funny. He doesn't make mistakes. God doesn't. Our children, and what they're not mistakes, and that's the world. I hate when they do that because we can learn so much from these kids. The truth is, the simplicity. There was a little boy. I was singing at one of Marie's things the other day, and she had a little boy that got up to speak. And this kid, I don't even know what he had because he was so articulate, but he actually joked about himself, saying, you know, I have all these things. He says, imagine me on my first date banging my hands against the, I mean, and you know, we were all laughing because he wasn't taking himself so seriously, that he knew that he might have these other little quirks or whatever, but he still had so much goodness inside of him. And I thought, we can learn so much from him. And I just think we just need to open our eyes and our hearts and really see God sometimes gives us these things, but it's for us to learn. We can grow and learn so much through our children.
Barbara, can we go back real quickly and talk about the buddy break?
Yeah.
That was because when you were talking, one of the things that I thought about was it is stressful. There's a lot of pressure for the parents in being able to take care of their kids. And really being able to say to them, it is okay if you're tired. And if you're tired, find resources to be able to give yourself. Listen, when my kids were little,
Oh my.
I would call my mom and I would say, I'm at your door. Do you have to keep them for 3 hours or whatever? You need a break. We all need a space of time just for ourselves. And sometimes I just want to sit on my patio and drink some sweet tea. I don't want to talk or any of that. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So is there a way for, I guess if they go to the website.
The Nathaniel's Hope website, and we'll have that up on the screen for our
Right.
viewers, and you'll be able to find a way that you can participate in a buddy break if you would like that, or just to be encouraged by some other moms. Talk to people, go to your church, go to your minister. Know that people want to help you. People
Right.
want to pray for you, and if you're in a position where you don't have a special needs child and you have the time to be able to volunteer, I would totally recommend that for you today. Ladies, I thank you so much for all the insights that you've given us. This has been a wonderful segment, and appreciate your hearts and your wisdom. And we have more viewers coming up for you, so you don't want to go away. Stay with us.
Disability affects the entire family because typically all of your decisions are based on what your child with special needs, who we call VIP kid, needs.
that.
And so, everything is based around that. So your own personal needs oftentimes go unattended, or siblings, kind of have to adjust. And, the family's willing to do that, but life is never the same. When your little guy doesn't sleep all night, like nobody in the family sleeps, or, your life is becoming very isolated because oftentimes you can't leave home, you can't participate in the mainstream of life, so life is very difficult.
Hi, everyone. I'm Barbara Beck, and I have a question for you. Are you planning to take a few days off this summer and go on vacation? Well, I hope so. We all need refreshment and days of relaxation and fun. That's important. But often in the summer months, we find that our donations go down. Sometimes our precious viewers take a vacation from giving, and we can't do that. Good Life 45 isn't going anywhere over the summer. We continue to broadcast 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Sure, we do have some reruns so we can have some downtime too, but we are always committed to offering you the best in Christian programming. So please remember to give to us and pray for our ministry, especially when you're relaxing out by the pool. We need your continued support throughout these wonderful days of summertime. We will always be the place where hope happens. So get that check checkbook out or go to our website to give safely and securely. And big news, we're making it easier to see Good Life 45's great Christian programs wherever you are. It's so easy and it's free. Just download our Good Life 45 app to watch us anytime, anywhere. Live stream all of our programming, check out recent episodes of Welcome Home, get the latest recipes from John Rivers. There's even a Bible reading plan and ways to support us as we bring you the best Christian programming in Central Florida. It's easy and safe to give on our app. Search Good Life 45 on your app provider. Download the free app available for Apple, Android, Google, Windows phones, and Amazon devices. You're a click away from hope on Good Life 45, where hope happens. Thanks for all you do to be part of our Good Life 45 family, and God bless you. It's one of my favorite times of year, not only because it's summertime, but because it's time for Make 'em Smile. And we have a return guest here with us who has such an incredible story. Marie Cook is just one of our most esteemed, respected, and beloved guests that we've ever had here on Welcome Home. And I want to thank you for coming back, Marie.
Thanks for having me back, Barbara. Wow,
Yeah.
I feel so welcome.
Well, that's part of why we call it Welcome Home. It is
Yes.
like Welcome Home for
Yes,
you
it
because you've
is.
been, for 15 years, you have been throwing the biggest birthday party ever for your little boy,
Yes.
Nathaniel. Just very briefly remind our viewers of who Nathaniel is.
So 19 years ago, our life was turned upside down and blessed with a little boy named Nathaniel, who was born with multiple special needs and just really rocked our world, took us in a whole new direction that we never dreamed. And, you know, he spent the first 3 months of his life fighting for his life in the hospital. And for 4.5 years, we had the joy and blessing of caring for him with therapies and surgeries and, you know, all the additional care that goes with raising a child with special needs. And then he had a change of address and moved from earth to heaven. And after that, you know, we began Nathaniel's Hope to cheer on families that have kids with special needs.
And what a legacy that has been that you've left for our community and really now nationwide, because you've been taking these events, in particular Buddy Break, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But people across the nation know about Nathaniel now because of what you've done, right?
It's pretty incredible how God's taken this little broken boy who could never walk, talk, or eat with his mouth and how he's using him.
Yeah. What was it like, Marie? Do you remember when you first heard? Was it in utero that you knew, or was it after Nathaniel was born that you knew he had special needs?
Yeah, at about 28 weeks, I was very large, and I thought, okay, third baby, Marie, you're eating too many bonbons, right? but that wasn't the case. He was actually, I had a lot of fluid in me because he had a blockage in his intestines, so he would throw up, you know, his amniotic fluid would never really leave, and so I would keep getting larger. So when I was 32 weeks, I measured 42 weeks, which put me into premature labor. So at about 28 weeks, when I was very large, we knew that there was going to be a complication in the pregnancy, but we never dreamed, you know, how complicated his life would be.
And it was really very impactful for your entire family. You had 2 little girls at the time, and it was not just when you have a special needs child, it's not just the mom and the child.
No.
It affects, how did it affect your girls and your husband and really your marriage?
Yeah. Well, you know, disability affects the entire family because typically all of your decisions are based on what, you know, your child with special needs, who we call VIP kid, needs.
that.
And so, everything is based around that. So your own personal needs oftentimes go unattended, or siblings, kind of have to adjust. And, the family's willing to do that, but life is never the same. When your little guy doesn't sleep all night, like nobody in the family sleeps, or, your life is becoming very isolated because oftentimes you can't leave home, you can't participate in the mainstream of life, so life is very difficult.
And especially for your girls, because they want to have friends over and they want to go to
Yes.
friends. It just was not that way. Was for them. Was it very difficult?
Well, because they became caregivers at a young age. I remember my 3-year-old Ashley, doing a breathing treatment on her brother, and helping to do that so I could tube feed him, or our 5-year-old Brianna, who's like the little mom, the little caregiver to him. And so, but God uses those things, but life is very different,
What about you and Tim? How did you two navigate your marriage?
Yeah, it was very difficult. I would say if we did not have the foundation of Christ in our marriage, I'm not sure I'd be sitting here today, married today. It took an incredible amount of commitment. When we would hear, people say, well, you have to work on your marriage and take that time. I mean, you are in survival mode oftentimes, and you don't have that time to invest in your relationship, although you have to, which is why we want to help churches, help families, do that. But it's very, very difficult.
So Nathaniel lived for 4.5 years? 4.5
years.
Do you remember when he went to heaven that day, what you felt like?
Yeah, it was a shock. He actually passed away in my arms, and so, I didn't realize that he died when he did. I thought, the paramedics came. I thought, they're going to revive him. We're going to be in a hospital. I mean, I am putting the scenario because so many times he could have died 100 times, But in this particular time, Tim was out of town, and it was just a very unexpected, But you felt like, I know for me, I felt like I hit a wall, like we were going 100 miles an hour caregiving for him, and suddenly everything stopped. Our house was quiet. There was no machines. There was no purpose in what we had to do every day.
So there was it was a huge loss, and a lot of people would look at your
adjustment.
family, Marie, and just selfishly thinking, well, was it a relief? It's sometimes but it really wasn't a relief. It was a loss.
It was a loss. As hard as life was, I would give anything to have my little boy back,
Yeah.
But, God is doing great things.
So tell us about these great things that God is doing.
So Nathaniel's Hope, our mission is to celebrate kids with special needs. We want to cheer them on to the finish line. And also we want to educate and equip the community, particularly the local church, to make a difference. So, we have like 4 core programs. We have a birthday club with over 12,000 kids in the program, which is crazy.
It is.
And so we send them a little bear like we have here, and we send them birthday cards on their birthday. And we have at Christmas time, we do a toy shop, and we had helped about 5,000 kids have Christmas this year, that are in financial need. And then we actually, we have our big party coming up, Make 'em Smile, which, is incredible. The biggest party celebrating kids with special needs,
Right. So what does that look like? I want our viewers to be able to know that I've been to that for many, many years in a row. Love going to that. It's every year at Lake Eola, June the 3rd.
June 3rd, yes. And it's always that day because his birthday would be June 6th, and we can't throw a party for him anymore. So we're throwing a party for all VIP kids.
Great. That's great.
It's an incredible event. I mean, it's just a lot of fun and activity for kids with special needs. They are the stars. We are honoring them that day. But it's also a time for the community to come alongside and make a new friend, get to be with somebody that maybe they've never taken the time to get to know. So we kind of say, come as a VIP and be our honored guest, or come and bring a VIP with you. Find somebody, find a neighbor, find a classmate, find somebody at church that maybe you haven't gotten to know very well, and invite them to come and hang out and just have a really fun morning.
Well, see, I thought everybody knew about Make 'em Smile, and I was telling somebody about it just the other day who had a special needs child. She had no idea. And I said, listen, it's free. It's a day of entertainment. It's a day of blessing. You get a free lunch. Chick-fil-A still doing lunches
they
for
come
you?
out with about 4,000 hot dogs.
That's crazy.
We have about 20,000 hot dogs out there, 25,000 bottles of water. I mean, we're getting things in the masses. And then like about 40 different characters up there. We have a fun zone where Walgreens comes out with about 10 bounce houses. And we have a wet zone with water activities, Animal Land where you can pet llamas and, petting zoos. So it's just a real day of celebration and to give kids a chance to do things that maybe they don't always get a chance to do.
So people should register. They should go to the website that's up on the screen right now.
Yes.
If they want, in particular, to have a buddy, tell us about how they can. You can just go like I go
Yes.
and just interact with people, but you could also go and have a specific buddy.
Yeah, So particularly if you have a child with special needs, we'd say register, because we've got free valet parking for you.
Nice.
Bags comes in and valet parks all the kids or the VIPs. And so we want to be able to get those parking passes to you and give you some other goodies like T-shirts. And your wristbands are free. If you're coming from the community to be a friend, we do wristbands for $5 so that they can come in and enjoy all the activities.
Right.
But everything happens on Robinson Street. You can kind of register, but you can come in and actually be connected with a family and walk around the lake with the family and kind of, maybe lend a little hand, but also get to know somebody that you never would have gotten to know and share a few
Well, that was your
hours of
purpose to
friendship.
begin with, is get
Yes,
the community
yes.
involved in knowing what it's like to have a special needs child,
Yes.
and to be able to look at that child and talk to that child and not feel threatened by
Right.
children with special needs.
Yeah, we're just afraid of what we don't know. And
Yeah.
a child with special needs they're still a child. They still need friends. They still need to be loved. They just have some characteristics and some things that may go along that they have to kind of navigate through. But they're still kids. And
Now,
so,
am I remembering right that last year there were 50,000 people?
There were 50,000 people.
What are you anticipating this year?
Well, we're planning for 50,000 people, so
Okay.
we'll see what happens. I mean, we would love to. I mean, we want the whole city to come.
Sure.
And
I don't know why
state,
everybody
yes.
doesn't come. Everybody should go to make them smile.
Yes,
it's
it's
one of those
worth-
events. It's encouraging. It's a lot of fun. We're celebrating Nathaniel's life. We're also
Yes.
celebrating families who have special needs children. It's an event that you don't want to miss. Go to that website, sign up for it so that you can know how to park and where to park, and it won't be as difficult for you. If you want to be a buddy to a family, sign up to do that. I did do that one year, and it's just very enlightening, and will just make you feel really good about serving a family with special needs. You're going to be the one that walks away with the blessing. Marie Cook from Nathaniel's Hope, we're just so appreciative that God has brought her for 15 years across our path here at Good Life 45, and she's an enormous blessing. Marie, thank you so much for being
you,
here with us
Barbara.
today. Now we have another treat for you. Marie has brought some friends of hers, and they're going to come and talk to us about what it's like to, number one, be a special needs little boy, and what it's like to be the mom of a special needs little boy. That story is coming up for you, so you don't want to go away. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Before we really knew what was going on, the sensory processing disorder is one of the most common things that a lot of the children have, but it's something that it's hard to see. So you just think they're grouchy, you think, oh, they don't like loud noises, or they're picky about their food. And that has been a real struggle before we knew what was going on. So we had a hard time fitting in with the other students, because when they were just kind of goofing off in class and having fun, he was getting mad and he didn't know why. And it was just too loud or too big.
Can you imagine what it would be like to grow up in a world where absolutely no one speaks your language and you can't speak theirs? Even your family's efforts to communicate are awkward and frustrating. At best, people humor you. At worst, you're ridiculed, looked over, and then locked away in some bricked institution with all kinds of other inmates. Well, that's what life was like for thousands of deaf people born well into the 19th century. Thomas Gallaudet grew up in Hartford, Connecticut, and despite being a sickly kid, 17-year-old Thomas wasn't just the youngest Yale University graduate of his time. He was valedictorian of his class. At the end of his own faith struggle, Tom wrote out a prayer in his journal. God of truth, I want to serve you. Please heal my double-minded heart and help me to be single-focused in promoting your glory, your kingdom, not my own. Just before he was ordained, Thomas had a very serious relapse, and unable to accept a church pastorate, he retreated home. From his father's window that week, he watched as 9-year-old neighbor girl Alice sat sad and ostracized from the other children playing in the yard. Tom's heart broke for her. He walked down to play a simple game of spell and tell with her. He wrote in the dirt, H-A-T, and dropped his hat. Again, H-A-T. Alice's eyes danced and lit up. Hat, hat, tree, dog. The two spent much of the next several weeks learning all kinds of new words. Alice's father sponsored Tom to travel to Europe, where he studied a brand new communication for the deaf, a hand language called sign. Upon his return in 1817, Thomas Gallaudet established the first ever school for the deaf in America. young Alice was one of the first graduates. Through those classes and others that have followed, more and more doors were open to the deaf community. The first U.S. college designed for the deaf was dubbed Gallaudet University. Sometimes what we think God wants from us is just that, what we think. His ways aren't our ways. It's more important for us to hear what God is speaking to our hearts and to follow Him anywhere. Tom may never have served in a pulpit, but in the practical sharing of God's heart for the deaf, millions of lives have been changed. Thomas Gallaudet, now in that great cloud of witnesses surrounding us, shows us that those who hear the Word of God and keep it really are the most fulfilled. Anything that holds us back from following Jesus in the here and now just needs to be tossed out. We keep our eyes on the Lord and share the love of His heart to everyone we meet as we run this race that He sets before us. Jesus loves you.
Hi, I'm Marie Cook, and we're throwing the biggest party celebrating kids with special needs, and you're invited. Join us for Nathaniel's Hope 15th Annual Make 'em Smile Festival on Saturday, June 3rd at Lake Yola in downtown Orlando. If you have a child with special needs of any age, come as a VIP and be our honored guest. Or join us as a buddy friend and invite and bring a VIP friend with you and enjoy the party together. Make 'em Smile, celebrating kids with special needs, Saturday, June 3rd. For more information, visit nathanielshope.org.
We are so honored today to have a very special family here with us to talk about not only Nathaniel's Hope, but about Make 'em Smile and Buddy Break. And I'd like to introduce you, viewers, to Nikki McDaniel and her handsome son, Jonathan. So glad to have you all here with us today. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Well, good. Now tell me, Nikki, a little bit about, and Jonathan, I want you to talk too. I want you to talk a lot, but I want your mom to tell us what your diagnosis is. Can you do that for us?
Sure. He has a lot of them. The main ones that affect him the most are he has Asperger's, so he's on the autism spectrum, and has all of those wonderful things that go along with that. He also has short stature, which is a growth disability, and he has generalized anxiety disorder, which means he has panic attacks and all of that fun stuff.
Well, you know what, Jonathan? Somebody with panic attacks to be able to sit here and visit with me on TV, I think you're doing really, really well.
Yes, Thank you.
Congratulations. And when we did the Thanksgiving Nathaniel's Hope kind of a fundraiser, remember that? You stood up there on stage in front of hundreds of people, and you were the star, I have to say. Yes, I had to step back and let you be the star because you were so wonderful.
Thank you.
Where does this confidence come from that you have when you have all these supposedly abnormalities?
Well,
Confidence. You seem like you're a confident young man. Where do you get that?
it's just knowing that I have these disabilities. I try my best to fight against it to prove that I am still in control and keep this from controlling me.
That's so good. Well said. So how did, Nikki, how did you and Jonathan and your family find out about Nathaniel's Hope?
We found out about Nathaniel's Hope through Buddy Break.
Okay.
Our church has one of the Buddy Break programs there, And actually, I was helping kind of lead that, helping do the singing and the dancing, and didn't realize that my family would end up being a fit to be there. And it was wonderful. But that's how we found out about Nathaniel's Hope.
We're going to talk more about what Buddy Break is, but when did you find out, first of all, that Jonathan had some, and I don't even want to call them, they're not abnormalities, they're just special needs, right? What are they?
Whatever you want to call them is fine.
What do you want to call them?
We say special needs, we say disability, handicap, issues. Sometimes Jonathan says his issues.
Yeah, well, guess what, Jonathan? I have issues, right?
We all have issues.
We all have issues. I think you are so right about that. But was he a baby when you found out?
No, I just thought maybe he had inherited some of the bad temper that runs in our family with some of my family
we
members.
Won't say who, right?
Right, exactly. And so he was banging his head against the wall when he was mad. He did a lot of screaming. He didn't really sleep when he was a baby. But we didn't know that there really was anything other than just, behavioral stuff until he was 8 years old. Okay. So he was, I guess that's pretty late now. That's pretty late. Then it was not quite as late as it seems. But we found out that he had that, and he needed all these injections, and found that I was pregnant at the same time. So it was an interesting,
stressful time
for you. Year. Yeah.
So, Jonathan, do you know what Asperger's is? Because a lot of times we hear people say autism and Asperger's on the same hand. Are they the same thing?
Well, yes, and kind of no at the same time. It honestly just depends, really, on.
What are some things about Asperger's that make you special? What does it mean? You're obviously not shy to talk to me because you're very outgoing, right?
Yeah. One, makes me really smart. Two,
very good.
It's just, honestly, I don't know exactly.
Okay.
Because I have so many different ones, so I don't know which exact one is.
Sure. How about this? How about how you relate to other boys at school your age? You said you were 13 years old.
Yes.
How do other 13-year-olds treat you and act towards you?
Well, a lot of the time, because of my growth disability, they think I'm like 10. And I don't look like I have special needs.
Right.
Besides my height and my crazy, insane hair.
Please, you've got great hair. Are you kidding? Most women would kill for that hair, right?
I know.
So whenever I say I'm 13, they think I'm lying.
Yeah.
And they think.
Yeah. So it's hard to find friends. It's hard to be friends with people. But you're homeschooled right now. But your mom was telling me that you're probably going to go into regular school next year.
Yeah, private school next year.
Private school. How does that make you feel? Are you a little anxious about that?
Yeah, I'm a little anxious about everything, so it doesn't surprise me.
That's very true.
You know what I love about your mother? She laughs all the time. I love that.
Yeah.
And doesn't that make you feel good? I mean, your life is going great. You're going to be a great kid in life. You've got a great purpose in life. We don't need to take ourselves so seriously. Has a sense of humor helped you through these years?
Oh my! That sums up our family perfectly.
Yeah.
Everybody laughs all the time.
You have to laugh. You either laugh or you cry, and I don't like crying, so we laugh. We laugh about absolutely everything.
I love that.
I know when he was younger, he had a hard time fitting in one of your questions you had asked earlier. Before we really knew what was going on, the sensory processing disorder is one of the most common things that a lot of the children have, but it's something that it's hard to see. So you just think they're grouchy, you think, oh, they don't like loud noises, or they're picky about their food. And that has been a real struggle before we knew what was going on. So we had a hard time fitting in with the other students, because when they were just kind of goofing off in class and having fun, he was getting mad and he didn't know why, and it was just too loud or too big. So now that he's really obviously gotten that under control, and he is very unique as far as being social. That's not very common, but he is very social, probably because his family's very social, so he was kind of forced into it.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit more, Jonathan, about Buddy Break, because I think that's...
Buddy Break, at first, I didn't want to go. I honestly felt kind of forced to go at first.
Way to go, Mom.
He thought he was too
Because-
old.
Yeah.
I thought I was too old. No offense, but I thought it was more for kids with like more special
Sure,
needs, like not as
sure.
high functioning.
Right.
My mom kind of forced me because I needed a babysitter, and
And she needed a couple hours to do
Yeah.
herself, right? That's okay. We moms need that. It's okay.
but it's just amazing. I had
Good.
an awesome time, and I even made a new friend.
Wonderful. What do you do, Jonathan, at a buddy break?
Well, at first, usually I just hang out with my buddy, and we just hang out.
And your buddy is usually somebody that doesn't have special needs, right?
Yes, but
Okay.
some of them do.
Oh,
and
good.
Yeah, it's fun.
Okay.
And then usually I find, after a while, I find my friends. And
You play
Just,
games?
yeah, they have like air hockey there and like some arcade games.
So do you think maybe, Jonathan, the reason that you love Buddy Break is because everybody kind of gets you?
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
What would you say to that young kid out there today? He's 13 years old. He's watching this. He's a cool guy. He doesn't get you. What would you tell him about you to help him understand who you are?
Well, that's
That's a hard question,
Yeah.
isn't it?
well, it's just I have Asperger's, and
You're just normal,
I'm just
right?
me.
Don't you want to have friends? Don't you want to just tell that kid out there, hey, I may have some special needs, but the biggest need I have is for you to like me and to accept me and play with me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So tell me, Nikki, more about Buddy Break, because I know I did this, Jonathan, you'll love this. I did this with my grandson for a little while, and then he couldn't continue to do it because he had some sports, but we were buddies to some special needs kids. And every time we went, guess who came away with the biggest blessing?
Of course.
We did, because we got to understand and be with people who maybe we wouldn't have come across before, or maybe we didn't know how to relate to that person. So it was an enormous blessing for Charlie and for me.
Always. The best way to be happy is by serving other people.
Right.
Because you don't think about what you're doing, you think about them, and it just lifts your spirits.
Yeah.
Always. Buddy Break is so wonderful because you get to go, you leave your children. I have 3 children on the autism spectrum. Yes, they are all high functioning, but that doesn't mean I don't worry. And I really was overprotective for a very long time, and I didn't really leave them anywhere, but I would leave them there, and I knew that I could go, and I wouldn't get a phone call needing to come pick them up.
Because they're trained to deal with special needs children.
Yes,
right?
and above everything else, they just, whatever is needed, they'll take care of it. If your child has an accident, if your child has anything, they take care of it, and they love your child. If they're just in a bad mood and they're screaming and they're yelling, you know what? That's okay too. And they take them, they have fun, all the different locations, they're at all different, most of them are churches, I believe. And so depending on that facility, your activity will vary depending on that facility. But that's
It's
what
once
they
a
do.
month,
They have fun.
right?
Yes, it's
Okay.
once a month, and you go, and the siblings can go too, and that is a
Nice.
big deal because
Yes.
when you have more than one child, yes, sometimes it's great to take that sibling and do something just special with them, but also it's nice because when you don't really get to go out and do much, and my kids are very high functioning, so I really didn't think that we really needed Buddy Break. I was wrong. That's what I want to tell every parent everywhere. If you have a child, no matter how high functioning they are, take advantage of that. Go do that, because whether you realize you need it or not, you really do need it,
Yes.
and your child needs it. Even if he seems like he's got everything
Oh.
together and he's doing great and he has some friends and everything, no,
Nikki,
he needs
his
that.
eyes lit up. When I asked him about Buddy Break, he was like, yep, love me some Buddy Break.
Exactly.
So
It-
that's great.
And you don't realize, like, make them smile, but
Yes.
you don't realize how much you need that until you do it. I thought, oh, I'm fine, I'm happy, I'm laughing all the time, I don't need that. I
You
did
do.
need that.
And there will
I did
be
need
some
that.
people out there today wondering, well, where are these Buddy Breaks? What churches are they in? And you'll have to go to the website to be able to find that out. There's a website on your screen right now to find out more about Buddy Break. It is in 23 states and Puerto Rico. Hopefully soon it's going to be all global. It's going to be everywhere, because these families need to be ministered to. They need the break. They need to have all of us come alongside them and help them and to be a part of their community and to better understand them. What's your favorite favorite thing to do. Jonathan, what do you like to do when you don't go to buddy break and you're not in school? What do you do?
Video games.
Video
Just
games.
simple question.
And why do you think you like video games so much?
Well, 2 reasons. One, I just like video games.
Okay.
It's not
Okay.
But I can also, like go and kind of escape the world a little bit and just like get a breather and just relax.
Good. Well said. And you know what you need when you need it, right?
Yeah.
And so do you give him unlimited time with video games, or do you kind of monitor? Or is that a tough question?
Yeah, well, I think every mom, that's a tough question for every mom, no matter what age their child is. He gets limited time, but more time than he should. But it actually is kind of good therapy for him sometimes to just step away and do that a little bit and come back.
Right.
It does help him a lot.
Well, you know, a lot of times, Jonathan, after we've had an interview like this, and then you walk off the set and you're like, oh, I wish I'd told her this, or I wish I'd said that, or why didn't she ask me this question? Is there anything that I haven't asked you that you want to share with our viewers today, or anything you're like, no.
You wanted to tell him about what you want kids to know about you. You kind of had an idea
who is
of
Jonathan?
That.
Who are
about now, your struggle with kids your own age, meeting new friends your own age.
Yeah, well, like I said earlier, the whole age thing. The whole age.
Say the part that you practiced.
All right. Well.
About you being 13.
Yeah.
Go ahead and say it.
All right. Well, how I'm 13, like kids don't they think I'm younger.
That hurts,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And
We want everybody to know, Jonathan, that you are an amazing teenager. You are not 10 years old. You are not 11 years old. You are not 12. You are a teenager. You are 13 years old, and you are amazing. You are awesome, and you have an incredible mom and dad and sister. And I haven't met your brother recently, so I think I met him that one time. But
He's awesome.
But you are blessed, blessed beyond measure, and God has some wonderful things in store for you. Thank you, thank you, thank you for coming and being a part of our program today.
you're welcome.
Thank you. Nikki, thank you as well. You're doing a
Absolutely.
great
Thank you.
job as a mom.
Oh,
Keep up the good work. For more information on Make 'em Smile, Nathaniel's Hope, and Buddy Break, go to that website to learn more. And be sure you share with somebody that you know has a special needs child and get them to Make 'em Smile. They will not regret it for 1 minute. So, got a little bit more coming up for you, so don't go away. We'll be right back.
So about 300,000 American children and a lot more throughout the world live with juvenile arthritis. So this is a disorder that really affects the joints. They can have swelling, pain, limited range of motion, and it can happen in children of all ages as well as all ethnicities. So this is an autoimmune disorder, which means the patient's own body attacks its own cells and tissues. So no one quite knows why this happens or what exactly is causing it. But people think it's really related to the genes passed on from parents onto their children, as well as some environmental factors, although we're not quite sure what that is yet. So the most common symptoms of juvenile arthritis are joint pain, swelling, and also that involves primarily the knees, the hands, and the feet. So with that, they may have limping, especially in the morning or after a nap. So these are the common times when children will have these symptoms. So they can also have rashes, fevers, swelling of their lymph nodes as well when it occurs with juvenile arthritis. Okay, so doctor is going to perform a really thorough physical examination as well as ask a lot of questions about your child's symptoms, possibly some family history of arthritis, and also do some lab testing and maybe some x-rays. So as a radiologist, our job is to really get a good look at the x-rays. Sometimes also we do ultrasounds or MRIs as well to really get a good idea about the child and the arthritis. So pediatric rheumatologists are really the specialists who deal with juvenile arthritis. So they're the best people to lead a team to really treat the whole child. So this may involve physical and occupational therapists, sometimes orthopedic surgeons, also pharmacists, eye care doctors, dentists. These are all people that can help your child. So the doctors are going to prescribe treatments that really deal with the symptoms, such as the joint swelling, the pain, the limited range of motion, and sometimes this will involve medication. So with that, we want to keep the children very physically active. That's going to help the most with their maintaining their joint mobility. The child also wants to have a really good support system from their family, sometimes have a support group as well. So juvenile arthritis can really affect the child's ability to take part in social and physical activities. So with that, we want to make sure that they get a lot of excellent health care. They're involved in a support system with their family or with other children, and this way they can be treated as normally as possible.
I hope you enjoyed our program today. Talking about special needs is so important for us as a community. We need to recognize our differences so that we can embrace them. God created us in unique and special ways. He expects us to love everyone, but it's hard if we haven't walked in another's shoes. For example, my daughter's good friend from college, Catherine is her name. She befriended, helped, and mentored a teenage girl. Recently, the young girl got pregnant and wanted an abortion. Catherine told her that she wouldn't pay for an abortion and certainly didn't want her to think that that was her only option. So Catherine took her pregnant friend to a crisis pregnancy center where they lovingly explained her options, did a sonogram for her, and the girl, the young mom, decided to keep the baby. Now, unless we've walked in those shoes as a young teenager being pregnant out of wedlock with no hope for her future, we really don't understand and can't pretend to empathize with her and her situation. But this we do know: God understands and loves us through whatever path we're traveling, whether it's living with a special needs child, whether it's being a single mom or dad, whether it's dealing with alcohol or drug addiction, depression, whatever. God has us in the palm of His righteous right hand, and that we need to celebrate every single day. We all have special needs, and the good news is that God gets us, He loves us, and He helps us through every day, every challenge, every situation. And that, dear friends, is our note of hope for today. Thanks so much for joining us, and God bless you.